I have been thinking about love lately and why it feels like a foreign concept for some of us. Not everyone has been raised in environments where love was visible. It might have been squeezed into moments so brief they were easier to ignore than to trust. It might have looked like duty instead of warmth, obligation instead of affection. Some of us grew up with voices that said we were never enough, and smiles that felt like bargains. We learned early that vulnerability was dangerous and that to survive we had to hold back. We learned that open hearts could be used as weapons against us, and so we shut them off long before we even knew what we were shutting out. Love turned into a fragile idea, more painful to long for than to dismiss. I remember thinking that maybe what was wrong with me was that I did not feel love like I saw in movies. I did not feel those swelling emotions in grand moments. I did not feel unconditional support when life shook me apart. I felt a hollow echo in the spaces where it was supposed to grow. Home was often colder than outside. Praise was rare and affection was transactional. And in that environment, we learned to survive by shutting down. We learned to fear intimacy. We learned to silence needs, because those who showed genuine warmth could vanish just as easily as they'd appeared. We learned that emotions are bargaining chips and connection is conditional trade. That conditioning runs deep. It is not something we can will away. We cannot simply decide one day to feel love. Instead, we carry patterns learned over years or decades. We might recoil at an offered hug. Our stomach tightens when someone reaches for us. We might smile politely while feeling nothing. We might wonder if asking for support is worth the risk, because the memories of times when love failed feel more real than any hopeful fantasy. Trauma rewrites our systems of trust. Every touch can trigger echoes of earlier disappointments. Every attempt to open up can feel like stepping naked into a judgmental crowd. Sometimes it feels safer to pretend we are fine than risk the ache that comes from expecting care we probably won't get. Society likes to pretend that love is universal. It runs 1,000 tropes about finding your person. It sells the idea that love solves everything, but those stories can feel like taunts when real life has taught you otherwise. People expect romantic fireworks, lifelong best friends, families that have your back. But what if none of that is waiting for you? What if your upbringing taught you that support has conditions and trust is never rewarded? We pretend that falling in love will fix us, but sometimes we don't even know how to stand on our own. We have maps to navigate everyday terrain, but no compass for emotional landscape. We feel wrong when we fall short of the fairy tale script. Some of us try anyway. We study psychology books, we go to therapy, we watch TED Talks, we practice gratitude, meditation, and journaling affirmations. We do everything they say to try to open ourselves up, but most of the time we don't get the results they promise. We might stay stuck in the same silence. We might expect ourselves to be open, but still freeze when someone says, "I love you." We might look at society and wonder, what is wrong with me? Is there a wiring error, a flaw nobody tells you about? And then we feel shame that nobody prepared us for feeling ashamed of not feeling. Shame over an emotion we cannot summon. We live in a world that expects warm bonds to come automatically. We are told there is something sacred about female emotional generosity or male strength to protect, but trauma prevents those narratives from unfolding as expected. Some of us never felt secure in infancy, so we cannot feel secure later. Some of us learned that attention was punishment and affection was dislike. Some of us grew in isolation or chaos. We never learned how to trust safety. We never learned to expect nourishment. And when we finally face the empty well where love should have been, the ache is fierce and raw. We might cover it with cynicism. We might bury it under sarcasm. We might tell ourselves it has no place in reality. And that is the other thing. We walk through life as outsiders. We see couples holding hands and we feel their connection, the way a starving person smells a feast. We see friends texting each other support and feel left behind. We see families around tables and feel a sharp, empty angularity where our place should have been. And that feeling intensifies loneliness. We feel defective. We feel that something essential is missing in us. We feel like watching a play behind a dark glass, hearing the laughter but unable to join. But there is a small clarity in this perception. Being cut off from love can also make us become observers, not because we don't care, but because caring is too dangerous. We notice the levers that keep relationships functional. We perceive the way kindness works when it is genuine. We see the difference between obligation and intention, and we can become quietly fierce in wanting to protect the fragile moments other people take for granted. We can become honest in recognizing that not everyone is gifted the experience of being held. We might not feel love in the way others do, but we still feel the ache of its absence. That alone is proof we are not incapable. We are survivors. We are people who have known that something was missing and still kept living. We might never feel all the domestic warmth of fairy tales, but we can cultivate our own kind of love. A love that is slow, a love that is cautious, a love that begins with tolerating our own exhaustion, a love that learns to appreciate small acts of tenderness where they appear. We might never be the person who walks into a room and commands emotional connection by default. We might never feel butterflies and fireworks at someone's touch, but we can build trust in increments. We can whisper truth to people who are patient enough. We can practice going gently toward intimacy without screaming no at every invitation. So you might ask, why even try if everything feels impossible? I cannot tell you the answer. Maybe because something inside you still remembers what safety could feel like. Maybe because in the smallest corner of your spirit you still ache at the thought of being understood. Maybe because the absence of love leaves a hole and you would prefer a candle in it over darkness. Maybe because the world demands that meaning exists, and so you carry on trying to find a way to belong. Maybe because it teaches you that without the effort you will lose the possibility completely. I believe this whole world has more people who don't feel love than people who do. We are the silent majority whose absence of emotion is invisible because nobody expects nothing. But no matter how disconnected we are, there is dignity in the struggle to feel something. There is a fierce kind of beauty in daring to show up for connections we were never invited to believe in. There is power in admitting that love is a problem for us, that it is complicated, that it scars us as much as it saves us, that we are neither broken nor hopeless, but still learning what it means to be human.